From Beta Cell, this is Thicker Than Water. I'm Craig Stubing. It's been 6 months since my Aunt Laura was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. All in all, a pretty short time. But these were probably the most important 6 months she'll have with type 1. Not only did she have to have a crash course in the practical aspects of how to live with this disease, from how to test her blood sugar, how to give a shot, how insulin really works, what different foods do to your blood sugar, and on and on and on, but she had to lay the foundation of how to live a life with type 1. I use this phrase a lot on Beta Cell, your relationship to type 1 diabetes. And it throws people off, because how can you have a relationship with an autoimmune disease? You can't talk to it, bargain with it, fight it. It's just there. But the way that you view the disease fitting into your life affects how you live with it. If you view it as a burden, it will feel like a burden. If you think that it limits what you can do, that's how you'll act. If you treat it haphazardly, your control will be chaotic. But on the other hand, if you try and work with the disease instead of fighting against it, you won't view it with such animosity and have negative reactions to it. Like any relationship, yours with type 1 can change over time. But also like any relationship, the beginning is when you lay that foundation. So with all that in mind, my Aunt Laura and I looked back at the last 6 months of her figuring out how type 1 now fits into her life. And we look forward to what the future might bring. Happy 6-month diaversary.
Thank you.
Did you do anything to celebrate?
No.
Do you think you will in the future?
I don't think I'll do anything to really celebrate. I feel like I just maybe did a little bit of reflection, about how it's been 6 months and how it seems like it went by pretty fast and how much I've had to change in 6 months. But I think I'm still working out some of the things that I deal with in daily life that are different.
What do you think the biggest change has been?
I think the fact that I have to think about this so much, having this disease adds so many more decisions in a day that I think that's really huge.
Do you feel like that's getting in the way of life?
I think sometimes it just makes it, I don't want to say harder, but it just makes it more of, when you are making your decision about what you're going to eat for breakfast, it's not just, I can just eat a banana on my way out the door. It's no, I have to take my shot. And at this point, I don't even have the decision about how many units of insulin. So I'm not even making that decision yet. But I still have to make the decision, how am I going to make the 30 grams of carbs that I need to take at every meal? So that's a different kind of decision. It's not just pick 3 things. It's like I have to pick things that I'm sure are going to meet my calorie requirements, meet my carbohydrate requirements, and then make what I consider would be a balanced meal. It's a lot of thinking. I think I read somewhere, like some people who are especially in tech careers, that's why you see them in the same clothes, because it's one less decision. I wear jeans and a black t-shirt. Done. There's no decision. And so I'm thinking, well, when you're type 1, you make so many decisions every day. And then when it gets to the point where, I'm high, how much insulin do I take to go low? If I'm low, how much more carbs do I eat to get high? I mean, that's even more decisions. So I just think decisions take up a lot of your day, and it gets a little tiring sometimes, I think. I can see after doing this for a number of years that it's like, I'm hoping it just becomes that's the way it is. Because
you're still so new, all decisions are
very obvious to you in the sense that like, you know, you're making that decision, as opposed to, for me, I feel like I'm so used to making these decisions that they're almost like autopilot. I know, oh, I'm getting a little high, and I can just sort of make those decisions without spending a lot of time thinking about it.
I can give you another example about thinking about things differently. This past weekend, we went to see a play in Spring Green. It's an outdoor theater. Then I was thinking, I wonder what time the intermission is for the play, because I take my basal at night. And so I like to hit it around the same time. So I called to find out what time the intermission was. And then they said, okay, the intermission is at, 9:20. I said, perfect, because I usually take it around 9:30. And then I'm like, okay, now I know there's going to be a huge line for the bathroom. So do I want to wait to get into the bathroom, or do I take the shot at my seat at intermission? And then I decided, well, I'm just going to take my shot at my seat. But then I had to decide, what am I going to wear? Because I always give it to me in myself and my thigh. So then I thought, okay, well, now I have to wear a dress. So this is what I mean. It's like I was thinking about what I'm wearing in a totally different way. Just those decisions about new experiences, being diabetic, that I think a lot more about.
How do you feel like you've changed in the last 6 months in regard to your relationship to type 1?
I think, when it first happened, I was really, I don't want to say nervous, but maybe overly cautious. But now I think it's become more routine with the thinking about the shot and the eating. But I still can tell you, I don't like it.
That hasn't changed? You haven't learned to love it?
That hasn't changed. No, some days I still get mad. I'm like, why do I have this stupid disease? I think it's kind of like when you go through any bad thing in your life, you have to go through stages to get to where you're okay with it.
It's like the 7 stages of grief, right?
Right. I don't know if it's really grief, but maybe in some ways it is grief, because most of my life I was not diabetic. So it's kind of like I'm grieving that life I had, because it was a long time, versus you were diagnosed at 13. So, and I think that's what any major change in your life that changes your life so much. I think that you do have to go through some kind of process.
Yeah, I pulled up the 7 stages of grief.
Yeah, what are they?
Shock.
Yeah, shock.
Denial. Guilt.
Yeah.
Bargaining. Depression. Reconciliation. And acceptance.
Yeah. Okay, if we do them again.
Okay, shock.
I don't know if I was shocked, but yeah, you do get shocked. I think no matter what, you're shocked.
Yeah, I guess the shock was really you going into the doctor and your blood sugar being so high.
Right. I mean, I was expecting diabetes, but I was expecting type 2. Okay, and then the second one was
denial.
I don't think I denied it. I think you kind of hoped, in that period where I wasn't sure, maybe I was praying, like bargaining to hope it wasn't it. But once it was confirmed, then it was confirmed.
Do you think you went through a guilt phase?
Since I know more about it, I didn't feel guilty because I knew I didn't do anything. There was nothing I could have done to prevent it. But I think you always think, no matter what happens, did I miss something? Or did I, because we really don't know enough about type 1 to say. There could be a trigger somewhere down the line, but we don't know what it is. So no, I don't think I had a lot of that.
So some people say it's guilt, other people say it's anger.
Yeah, so see, maybe the anger, I would say, yeah. Because you're like, well, why am I getting this thing? And not so much so, what did I do? Because I don't think I did anything, but it's just kind of like, you just don't understand. You can't, how do you understand it?
And then it says bargaining, seeking in vain for a way to get out.
I think that bargaining was more the week where I was not officially diagnosed. kind of like, oh, could I just, I don't think there's any way to